Talking Films. This is a podcast by DokuFest. Tune in to discover more about documentary film and filmmakers. I'm Aleksandra, your host. Welcome to Talking Films, to another episode of the podcast by DokuFest. Today, my guest is Valentyna Humenna from Ukraine. Welcome.
Hi everyone, and thank you for having me here today.
Do you want to say a couple of words about yourself?
I can. Well, hi again. I'm Val, or Valentina, and I'm representing Ukraine War Archive. It's a digital platform that should be sustainable and outlive us, probably, because we are aiming to preserve all necessary information about war crimes and information that can be related to war crimes in Ukraine.
In case you hear something rumbling outside, there is a thunderstorm coming, so don't bother, we will just keep talking.
Yeah, vibe of war archive.
Yeah. Wow, what a dark humor. Oh, wow.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It fits perfectly to the Balkans. Like, for me as a Swiss person, it's very hard to handle, but you're in good company.
Fine.
So getting to the Balkans is the right topic because we ask all our guests how they came to Prizren. So how was your trip to Prizren?
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been a bit long road, just because in Ukraine we don't have planes are not operating. So I took flight from Krakow, but before
in Poland.
Yeah, in Poland. But before to get it, to any trip you're doing out of Ukraine, you should add maybe 8-10 hours, depends where you live, to your whole itinerary, you know. So it was a long road, over a day for sure. So 35-ish hours.
Thank you so much for making this effort to coming here.
Yeah,
for real.
Well, I believe it was worthy. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah. So back in Ukraine, you're an analyst for the Ukraine War Archive.
Yeah.
What is your job there?
Actually, we're trying to preserve a lot of information that's going on. Maybe you've heard such idea, such insight that this war, it will be the most documented conflict ever, just because the full-scale invasion is going for 3 years already, and we have Facebook, we have TikTok, we have Instagram Reels, we have open source intelligence communities, we have Twitter or X, and I'm not even talking about media that are covering it. So the amount of information is immense. But if we won't structure it, we won't likely use it later. So in order to use it somehow, sooner or later, we have to structure the data, and that's what we are all doing. So a little bit broad, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we're getting to the details now. So how and when was the archive established? Because obviously it cannot be that old yet.
Yeah, actually, thank you for this question. We started just after full-scale invasion, because the war itself started in 2014. So it was our natural response to what was going on, in our windows, what we saw. So some people saw great explosions, some people were organizing volunteer help, some people were hosting somebody, and we were all gathering all this information. So it all started from the core team, and then from core team of DokuDays UA, it's an organization of filmmakers, and then we realized that we have to, as I said, sort of sort this data, right, and arrange it, and that's how another organization, Infoscope, joined us, and both of these organizations are creating the archive.
It's interesting to hear. So I also read a film festival, and as you said, filmmakers are like a crucial driving force behind this archive.
Yeah, actually they started uploading a lot of pictures on their own, and that's how it all started. And now we have a bunch of partners who are uploading the same photos or videos or deep interviews. Even inside of the archive, we have our own unit, and they are also recording interviews with the witnesses of any kind of events, because we can't interpret them as war crimes on our own. But if people went through occupation, if they witnessed or They knew about tortures on occupied territories. We are glad to record everything because usually memory is quite short one, and we have to. And as far as this conflict is still going on, many things became very routine for us. For example, air alarms is like not a big deal anymore. Still, it means that something is going to blow up wherever on the territory of Ukraine, but we are got used to many things, and if we are not trying to remember them, like to reflect on them, well, the reflect is another point, but first thing is to record and to preserve this information, and then to analyze, of course, when it happened, how did it happen. We have our own system, like tagging system. We are also working on preserving originals of the files. It's very important, like to keep all timestamps, to all metadata, because it's needed, because there is such a thing as eligibility of evidences, and we have to keep that in mind as well.
So what people give you the materials? Where do you collect them from?
Thank you. Actually, we can divide them like into two directions. First thing is partners, right? It's like human rights organizations, investigative journalists, or photographers who captured something, and they have it on the hard drives. What should they do next? So they are we are suggesting making like open calls or arranging the transfer, and also we have individuals. People usually from the occupied territories or who left the currently occupied territories. So we are conducting like longer interviews with open questions about their experiences. If we will talk about formats, we have photos, we have videos, we might have audios, because not all people want to be recorded like with video, and we totally understand that that's their right. We have these formats. Also, we may have some documents. It's a rare thing, but still we have them. As Archive is a digital platform, we just may have scans or photos of the documents, and not the documents themselves.
And so if a person sends you a video or a photograph, what happens next when it reaches the archive?
Well, it's very important to understand that when it reaches, probably a lot of job is already done. But before, we are arranging like all the documents to make it all with the consents, with the agreements that people are willing to do it. This is the first thing. Then we are conducting the interview or arranging these agreements with the partners. Once it's in archive, we are uploading it and then analyzing, in the sense that we are putting tags, like we have our internal system of tags. We are adding location, we are adding some basic information with facts and names, and it's very important to every piece of materials to get the context. So it's important to mention, if we know this information, when did it happen, how did it happen, how many people found it, or what's going on in the picture. Because if we have picture itself of the destroyed house, for example, how can we attribute it to the particular location or even a time frame? So it's all important, and we are trying to it's necessary to mention when and where did it happen.
You mentioned before that there are videos, there is some kind of film material or like moving images. What do people record there? What do you see in the archive in this material?
It very depends, but usually people can film how their houses look like after the shelling or after the bombardments. They can just show the landscape, how it looks like after some battles, maybe if they were living close to the front line. If we're talking about their videos, right? They can even shoot the lifestyle of the war. What I mean under lifestyle, it's a bit tricky to compare, to have these wars together, but people are showing how they are hiding in the bomb shelters, or how they are arranging new homes and everything. So I would like to highlight here that on the very beginning we were sure that we just need like war crimes information, something that relates to war crimes. But we realized that we are living through this war, and we have to also preserve the information how we are living it through. So that's why we have many, like I would say domestic, maybe some videos, how people, and usually we don't have it like recorded from the person who's recording it, but we are interviewing people, what they were eating during the occupation, what habits they had, how do they have any fears after, because we are talking about post-traumatic syndromes and everything. And they are sharing like many things, how they are adjusting in the new places. So it's kind of not really related to the war crimes information, but it's definitely related to the war and how we are, as I said, living through it.
Yeah, it's interesting you're mentioning this lifestyle topic. Yesterday I watched a movie Up in a Castle where a woman from Ukraine presented her movie about growing tomatoes during the war. I mean, she started before, but after she continued, and the topic was also food security and how people started to rely on other methods of how to get food, and it was very interesting to see how people eat and get the food. So it just reminded me
and
of
how
of
their
this.
eating habits are changing. For example, we even had like a special material food during the war times, and people were sharing the stories how they wanted to eat like fresh bread, and there was no bread and no flour, and they were dreaming about it. Or another stories when there were many like meat or maybe fish, it depends on the story, right? And because they were living near the place, near the farms and everything, and the only thing they had is it was that meat, and they don't want to eat that meat anymore because they fed up of it, and it reminds them maybe some situations. So the stories are very different, but I believe even in these little details of living through the life, we can have a lot of information, like a lot of insights.
Mm-hmm. So the materials now are in the archive, they're tagged, they're described. What happens next? Like, who can use them, or for whom do you archive them, basically?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, we started like multidisciplinary, project, and we are trying to keep this multidisciplinary focus. So from one side, we really wish that at least something could be used in criminal procedures, because it would be really ultimate goal to see that some tribunals use that materials, because we are, as you said in the very beginning, we are preserving them in a way that evidence can be eligible. We assume that it may be not direct evidence, but it can support them. So first thing is criminal procedures, right? From the other side, we are talking about again, filmmaking industry, because we have some requests that people are asking. Archive is closed, so like it's a closed platform. So they are asking to look what do we have, because they want to create documentary films or just short movies that reflect maybe something about war, or just we had some requests that filmmakers wanted to step back and see how the full-scale invasion started, like the very first pictures of explosions and everything, and how crowded places were. I mean, some railway stations and everything. So there is interest in these materials.
So just shortly before we started recording this podcast, you mentioned that you want to be open if artists request archive materials. Why is that important to you?
Thank you. Actually, our archive is like a closed platform. It's not easy accessible. But at the same time, we believe that artists and just creative community, they can support our voices, like general Ukrainian voices. If we are talking about law and all criminal procedures, they can and they do take time. If we look back on many tribunals that happen, they happen after the wars, and we should understand that it's a very long process. And art and culture, it was always the method, the way to reflect on something, and even if not to reflect, but at least to showcase how people are living through something, through some harsh circumstances. So I believe this is the idea, and we never know what exactly can be not even more powerful, but what can hit the souls, the brains of other people, rather just sentence. And I don't want to say that sentences are not important. It's very important, but they will not happen fast. And maybe some exhibitions to the broad audience or any other forms that creative communities are creating, they can be maybe, they will definitely use stories. And stories, it's all about like storylines, right? It's all about people. It's not just facts and everything. So I believe that artists have this power, and we should welcome them to use the materials, because if we have these Ukrainian voices, if we have +1, it's even better. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of an exhibition I actually saw in Warsaw some months ago. It was a collective exhibition of artists from Ukraine that presented very diverse works with a lot of artifacts, with footage as well. And yeah, it just reminds me of collected objects that found a very new form, and it was a stunning exhibition. It was not just like nice colors to look at, like it told so many stories. So
yeah, and maybe even with physical objects, sometimes people from other countries then can relate. Like, oh, I have the same, I don't know, sweatshirt. I have the same phone. I have the same, I don't even know. Like
someone had plates in the exhibition, like
exactly.
plates from an old home.
Yeah, or someone can see keychain and realize that these people, they are not numbers. They had stories and they had very vibrant life before it was stolen or something happened to them.
Which maybe particular quality do you see in movies transporting these stories from Ukraine? Like here at DokuFest, for example, we have movies from Ukraine screened with very different types of materials, like footage from trenches, or this woman that we talked about who was growing tomatoes, or people hosting refugees. What can movies do in this regard for, I don't know, for the sake of memory maybe?
Yeah, definitely for the sake of memory. And actually, as I said, this war is likely the most documented war. And we have such immense volume of materials. So probably every or every other filmmaker can find something that touches their vision of filmmaking, of documentary movies or just movies. So I believe that there are many topics that can be covered, and I wouldn't limit artists in that way at all, because unfortunately, I will use this word, we have a lot of content, in the sense that many things happened, and the main idea is to preserve the materials and then to use them, to show them to the audience, because this is the key. If we are spreading something, it means that it exists.
Is it also kind of a calming procedure to sort out materials, like to bring some order to this, as you said, like immense amount of cruelty, basically also? Does it help in any way, also psychologically, to find a place to store it?
I believe it's rather complicated than calming, because we have team of analysts, and it's not easy process to hear about some particular events, for example, rapes, and then to put this tag, little tag rape, but before it, we understand that person listened through the whole fragment, and maybe that person took it personally, or now it's very complicated to start tagging another fragment in the materials. So I can't say for all people, but I believe it's very psychologically complicated. And from my perspective, I would just add that you never know what may hit you, in the sense that draw pictures that we all saw, like some houses that were destroyed, or some burnt fields. We saw it, but sometimes you can just open like a photo or video that you never seen before, that wasn't captured in any media, it wasn't covered. And then you realize that it's very unique fragment of war and you didn't see it before, and now you feel that it touched you. And maybe many other things didn't touch you at all, but this hidden thing, you realize that it stops you for some time, and you can like work as you worked like 10 minutes ago or something. And on the other hand, maybe some people can find it calming or in a way helpful that these things that they are arranging, organizing, and sorting, it helps to attribute someone to be prosecuted, or at least that story will be known or will be heard one day.
If I may ask, I mean, you deal with these materials a lot. It's your job. How is that? Like, do you have support to deal with what you see and what you work with?
Actually, I'm not tagging the materials themselves, but from analyst perspective, we had some like therapy sessions, like it was group therapy, because if we have this team like of 8 people or something, so usually they have a lot of in common, in a sense some things can trigger in similar ways, so it's very good that they can share it with each other and realize, oh, I had the same problem or I felt the same. So that's what I know. I basically working more with the users after the materials are tagged and analyzed, in a sense. But yeah, I can imagine that tagging and analyzing these materials, it can be, it may have different effects for different people, and it really very depends on the material itself. Because if the video is about torture, it's definitely very complicated to listen and to tag and just like process.
What actually motivates you to do this, to work for the Ukraine War Archive?
Well, okay, I'm speaking from my perspective. In Ukraine, many of us, we have this feeling that we are not doing enough, because like it feels like it's never be enough. It can't be enough or something. And this job helps me to realize that I'm adding this little piece of my efforts, and it will help one day to this, whole picture to be visible.
Yeah. Here at DokuFest, I saw that you were guest at the panel.
Yeah.
And you were also talking with people about documenting the war. Here in Kosovo, there was also war, and today there are also institutions documenting this war. How was this exchange yesterday with people who had similar experiences in life but also in work?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I want to say that we have a lot of in common. I wish we never had such common experience, but at the same time, we can take a lot from your perspectives. For example, in terms of memorialization, because we are just on our way to properly like remember about some events that happened or some people that died. So it's quite similar, and it's good that we could like exchange our thoughts on this field.
Yeah. Towards the end, I would like to have a peek into the future. It doesn't look like the war would end soon, unfortunately. What's the plans with the archive? What are maybe upcoming projects in your work?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I said in the very beginning that this project must outlive us. It should live like after we arrange it, because this memory, it should be kept. And it's a very long perspective, right? But right now, definitely we would like to upload even more materials, because it's not the very end. We have over 50,000 of fragments right now, but what's that for the huge country, for the biggest country in Europe that has full-scale invasion in its territory. So we would like to add more materials. We are collaborating with other partners, human rights organizations, as you said, journalists, photographers. Also, we would like to analyze more and maybe do more on like visual reports and everything, because it's also important. Right now we are happy to see that our materials were they are not usually ours, like on from the copyright side, but that they were used. They were used in many projects, in some reports, in movies as well, in the exhibitions, and it means that these materials were needed, and it's great to know that. Also, we would like to have more, and we are also having like documentary movies. Like we already have one about occupation of Kyiv Oblast. Like life after occupation, and people from Kyiv Oblast, they were sharing their experience. Also, we have
so you made these documentaries
yeah,
after,
like
okay,
our unit,
the archive itself.
Yeah,
okay.
The unit that records like deep interviews with the witnesses, so that's their job. And another movie is about Olenivka camp, that prisoners of war were unfortunately like blown up by Russians, and it's very tragic page, I believe, in during this full-scale invasion, because even if we keep in mind all Geneva Conventions or other organizations, protocols that should support and protect prisoners of war, they didn't work, and Russia simply decided to kill 53 or 55, unfortunately I don't remember the correct number of people. And it was very important project for us to showcase that in the archive we have some witnesses, or at least some, they were not only witnesses, like they were prisoners of war, they were relatives of the prisoners of war. And it's also important to remember this part, because war, it's definitely about civilians, but it's also about military. And if Russia is behaving wrongly with prisoners of war, we can't be silent on it.
Yeah. I wish you all the best for the future with the work, with your personal work, and with the archive. And thank you so much for sharing all of this with us here. Thank you, Valentina.
Thank you too. Thank you for inviting me.
Find all the episodes of our podcast on YouTube. Share the episodes with your friends, and make sure to follow DokuFest on social media. Organization of this podcast, Blerina, Kanxha and Samir Karahoda. Production, Flutura, Balaj. And I'm your host, Aleksandra Hiltmann.